OMG, baby, tell him.
Hey there, welcome to Powered by Backers, another one-on-one interview. I am joined by Andrew Luba. Andrew, thank you very much for joining me.
Hey.
Hey, all right. So Andrew, excited to have you. You and I were actually panelists on probably the last of its kind, a pre-COVID get-together conference type of thing. Literally like mid-March. I think it was like the first week of March. So it was like the last week of its kind, I think, in the world.
I think a lot of people were canceling coming already.
People were actually skeptical. Now you're right. Like I think they had maybe half the turnout they were expecting or less than they were expecting. Definitely. There was a lot of uncertainty what was happening. I think it was like the Thursday or Wednesday, like right before kind of schools got canceled, the NBA closed down. Yeah. It was like kind of right in around there. So we did meet in person. I'll give a quick bio. So, I mean, I don't want to go too much. You're in law school, but I think the coolest thing that everyone here should be listening to is you have been a part of and run successfully somewhere in the neighborhood. We just talked about it. 10 different crowdfunding campaigns, primarily on Kickstarter, raising somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000. And one of which we talked about on that event, which was pretty awesome, was the sort of the Saving the Whales documentary that you were able to kind of take from an idea all the way through. You were one of the stars of the show. You and I think a couple of your friends went out and did a whole bunch of different things. So I'll just jump right into it. Tell us what got you into crowdfunding, specifically rewards based on Kickstarter?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I had finished my undergrad, I wasn't sure what I was going to do because I had done a liberal arts and sciences degree, so it was pretty broad. And one of my friends had an idea to do a project. He had some friend in the US who had crowdfunded some stuff before.
Right.
He was like, maybe we can do this. Why don't we try to do an idea? So it started off just as a sort of fun summer project.
Right.
And then,
how old were you at that point? Are you just finished your undergrad at that point, or sort of in between?
20.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 or 21, whatever I was when I
had
just finished.
Yeah,
I just graduated. So this was the summer right after I graduated.
Okay.
I went and stayed with him, and he's from San Francisco, so it was the classic. Went to San Francisco and went surfing and stuff, and we're starting our new business.
And you're right next to Silicon Valley. You're thinking about what your next $1 billion idea is going to be.
Yeah, sure.
somewhere in the Bay. Yeah,
I don't think we're aiming that high.
Okay. We're just
our next.
Yeah.
$10,000
deal. Yeah. Where's your next meal coming from? Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
It just started small. The first project went well, and then from there we were able to keep using the money we made from the first project to invest in more ideas and sort of keep growing.
So what was that first idea? Just off the top, I guess.
It was like the first idea we had was we were going to make a running shoe that was sort of a minimalist running shoe that wouldn't smell, so like the material would be non-odor.
Right.
But then we went along in that project, and it got to a point where we just sort of like, this is not going to work. Like the quality of the samples that we were making was really low, and we were just like, this is not going to be good. So what's something else that we can do that is like popular on Kickstarter? So we made a little multi-tool that's just like the credit card size multi-tool type of thing, which there are lots of, but we just made our own variation of it. And we raised enough to actually make it. So
that's cool. So you were able to distribute it and get it out to them. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. And so now sort of fast forward, we were at the event, you were talking a lot about the film. So I'd love to hear, where is it? I think it was just releasing or about to release back in March. Like where exactly is that? I'd love to hear that story. Tell us about that story of making that film.
So the film is called Co-Extinction.
Right.
And it's about the endangered, a specific subspecies of orca, the southern resident killer whale, that's endangered on the West Coast. So
Okay.
it's looking at why they're endangered and the relationship that they have with the Chinook salmon populations on the West Coast, which are also going endangered,
Okay.
and what effects that has on people's lives out there.
Overall.
Looking at indigenous communities, looking at small fishing communities on the coast, and also the effects that some of the projects that are happening across the country, like oil pipelines and stuff like that, what effects those have on the West Coast and these populations.
Right.
So the story of, people can go look at it. It's not out yet, but they can go look at our website, coextinctionfilm.com.
So the video's still not out yet?
Yeah, it's not out yet, so we're still working on it.
Okay.
We're hoping that we'll release it somewhere around January, probably.
Can we get like an exclusive release date? You've heard it here first.
No. Yeah, I'll let you know once I know. It's a long process.
Right.
It takes a lot longer than
because you did film it, right? It's already
it's
filmed.
all filmed. We're just editing now. Yeah,
right,
we're just editing, and it just takes a long time to edit, and also it takes a long time to like finalize, who's going to be showing it, where are they going to be showing it, what festivals is it in, finding distribution platforms, stuff like that.
Right.
But the journey of the film started, I had sort of realized that I didn't want to be doing product crowdfunding anymore, because for me it sort of was just feeling meaningless. Like I was making these consumer products that people were ordering lots of them, and it was fine in terms of just being like a financial job, like I was making enough money or whatever, but it didn't feel meaningful. It just felt like I was contributing to consumerism and contributing to what I see as like a very problematic culture of just buying something that you don't need and then using it once and then throwing it in the garbage, or it's just like
letting it pile up.
Dust.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not something, for example, like
that's what people think this bookshelf looks like.
I was going to say that. I was going to say that like those though are meaningful things. Like those are things that have meaning to you, like the Raptors.
Yeah, the Raptors hat, or the this little like beer thing up there. That's from one of the trips we went on. Yeah, there's a lot of
so these are like meaningful memories.
There's still trinkets though. There's I think a little one up here, Peggy's Cove, next to the Bills ball.
Yeah, I see that.
It's a little or the Corona bottle.
Yeah.
Now even more appropriate. It's been there for about a few years, but it's Yeah.
No, I mean I think there's a difference between like if you're a pure minimalist, then you just try to get rid of everything. But if you're sort of what people call an essentialist, then you get rid of the things that don't have meaning and are useful, but you keep the things that evoke good memories and happiness and that are about you and your family and your connections. And I think that's the way to go.
I always like to point this one up here.
Yeah.
Everyone wonders, that's a giant piece of coral.
Oh, cool.
From our honeymoon in Bali, Indonesia, off the coast of a tiny little island. Took it all the way home. Technically, you're not supposed to. So I don't know if anyone's watching this. You're not supposed to, but that's a tiny piece of coral. Probably against your total movie premise.
Yeah.
Leave the coral. But anyways, it's been a centerpiece for 12 years in everywhere we've moved. But anyways.
Yeah. No, it's really nice memory.
Yeah.
But yes, don't
touch the coral or
species in the ocean.
This was dead. It was already washed up on shore.
Okay, that's more okay, I think.
Yeah. I didn't go like pry it from the living coral.
Yeah, that would be bad. That would definitely be bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was making this transition in my life, trying to shift from projects that were just consumer products that I didn't feel connected to, and I felt like were negative for the world. And the more money we raised, kind of the worse I felt, because I was like, more people are going to have this thing that they don't really need. It's not really going to make their life better. So then this opportunity came up. I had a friend of a friend who I just like networked and talked with, and she was doing a bunch of projects. One of them was she wanted to make this film with another friend. So we started talking about it. They had met that summer before I met them. I met them in the fall. They had met that summer out west, and they were both working with this organization called CEDIS that was monitoring these whales and making sure that boats that were driving by don't go too close to the whales and stuff like that. So they had this idea of like, oh, maybe we could make a film about this issue, and that would be something that could draw attention to it and get people to care about it, and maybe
Right.
we can actually make some impact, because at that time when they started, there were 88 of these orcas left. Now
in the world,
yeah, in the
or
world,
at least in that pod.
in of this subspecies in the world. They
In the
can't
world, wow.
this specific type is their own subspecies. They can't mate with other types of orcas. There are transient or big killer whales. These are the ones that you see all around the world, and they have a better population.
Right.
But yeah, this subspecies, just they're much smaller. They eat more fish rather than seals and bigger mammals.
Okay.
So yeah, they basically were like, how can we try and do something that will help them?
Yeah.
And now there's only 73 or 72.
So it's declined in just a few years.
Yeah, it's continuously declining. So it's doesn't look good for them. But anyway, I basically was like, okay, well, I have these skills of crowdfunding. So I want to do something meaningful. Here's somewhere where I can come in and help raise money, organize all the crowdfunding for this film.
Right.
And so I offered that I would do that if I also get to do all the creative aspects and be involved in like the actual film project.
So you're kind of a give and take. You'll
exactly.
You'll take.
I mean, I think my creative contributions are good.
I've seen it. Just for the record, you showed us a few clips there when back in spring, right?
Yeah.
And it looked really good. It looked really interesting. So
thank you.
I'm excited to see what the final production was or how it turns out. But that was 6 months ago, and I think you already had like a relatively good sort of working movie, if you will, right?
Yeah, we had the structure. It's always coming along and changing, and you know, you're always like, you get into a section of it and then you edit it and you're like, oh, we're missing this or that thing, so maybe you have to either rework it or go film a bit more or whatever.
So have you gone back and filmed in the past 6 months?
We have filmed some more stuff, but I didn't go back for it. Yeah.
Okay, so you just did it like remotely or sort of pieces or sort of?
Yeah, we have some people who are living on the West Coast, so it's easy for them to just go film.
Get some footage and stuff?
Yeah, but we also have incorporated some things like phone calls and stuff like that.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes it even more interactive, right? It's
exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So okay, let's fast forward. Okay, actually, I want to I don't know if I want to take a step back or fast forward, but what I'd like to know is, you mentioned that you have crowdfunding skills. Maybe I'd like to sort of pick your brain a little bit on what, in your opinion, that entails. What are some of the things that you're able to do, or things that you've done that have been successful in certain campaigns or across all of the campaigns? So a lot of people obviously here that are watching this are, looking at launching a campaign on backers, slightly different from a Kickstarter. It is the equity sort of side of crowdfunding, or as we call it, social funding. But, you're selling shares, but the same premise, I think, underlying, you're bringing people together under sort of a common community type goal, right? Give me sort of an idea of give me your thoughts on that. Like what is the expertise that you bring?
Yeah. I mean, I think that when you've done a bunch of campaigns, it definitely makes it easier to do more, even just that I have like a sense of what sort of framing and structure works for a campaign.
Okay.
But I guess that one major barrier that people face when they have an idea is confidence to actually take it forward. Right. So I'd say that's one thing, is just building confidence in someone's idea and building a sort of project that they can feel good sharing it with the people around them and with their community. And that makes a huge difference. But in terms of like the expertise that I bring, I think it's community building, which is a huge aspect of any crowdfunding, finding the people who would actually be interested in your project, knowing how to build excitement with them and get them to actually support your project financially rather than just being like, that's a cool idea.
Right.
So
pull their wallets out of their pockets, right? Money where their mouth is, kind of thing. So okay, that's actually, so do you mind if we kind of go a little deeper into that? like what it's easy to say, right? You know, you obviously need to get that community person to be that much more engaged to actually, you know, pull the credit card or debit card or, you know, cash out of their pocket. What are some tactics? Like if you were to say, these are a couple things we've done that have worked, and maybe I'm sure you've got things that you've done that didn't work. Like what are some ways to really engage people in your community?
I mean, I think that the key is that you're not just like, if you really want to get everyone in your community to support your project, and you want to build your community to get it so that when you launch your project, people are excited and actually go and do it. You really want to be building that community for as long as possible before you actually do your project. So, you know, obviously if you know someone for 5 years and you've been talking to them about stuff that, like, say my current project that I'm doing is a card game about telling different stories about future worlds. So I have friends, for example, from my master's program was all to do with future, like foresight and sort of interactive futures design and stuff like that. So I have friends from that program who I've known for, you know, 5+ years, and I know that these are the types of things they're interested in, and we have ongoing conversations about these types of things. So building those sort of connections, those people are obviously going to support the project when it comes time, because I'm like, here's a project that I've made that is about exactly what you're interested in. Will you just throw me, you know, not that much money to support it? And so they're interested, but also as early on as possible, not just obviously using the network that you have right there, but trying to expand and find communities of people who are interested in these sorts of ideas. So like finding people who maybe supported other projects who are part of lecture series, or who are part of community activism, or, you know, depending on what your project is, you're going to try and find the community online, in person, etc., who are already engaged with things that sort of revolve around your product or service or whatever you're offering to your people.
It's kind of like marketing 101, right? Like you've got to figure out who is, you know, who appreciates what you're doing, right? Who's going to want to be, I mean, marketing 101, you're trying to figure out who your typical client or customer or user is going to be. And then you need to try to figure out how to engage with them at a deeper level, right? And similarly to what you're saying, you know, you want to be building that relationship, that audience, that network far before you're ready to launch. Because if they don't understand what you're doing and don't appreciate it, the likelihood of them participating is going to be very low, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's like, for example, for you, for backers, you have been going to conferences, you have been giving talks, you've been building that community of people who understand crowdfunding, who understand entrepreneurship, who understand all of these different ideas. You've been making genuine connections with those people and building that community out, and also involving those people in your community that you've been building and giving them opportunities, like giving me the opportunity to, you know, talk and share my ideas and stuff like that.
I like that you think that I'm doing a lot of these good things, which is good. I am trying. We are trying. We're building a community of entrepreneurs so they can support each other, right? And something like this is a great platform, I think, for entrepreneurs to showcase what they've done, but it's as much as well for other entrepreneurs or other people in their very same sort of circumstance to see, like you mentioned the confidence part. I think confidence is huge, but to see other people very similar to them that have obviously experienced, you know, sort of gone through the ringer a little bit, but are still going, you know, getting at it and doing what they need to do, and are sort of one step ahead of maybe where they want to be. So it's a great inspirational tool, right? For people to see someone like you who's, you know, or someone who's never done crowdfunding, to see someone like you who's done it 10 times, you know, at various degrees of success, and then to say, you know what? I mean, I see what he's doing. I'm going to take some of his knowledge and then apply it to my own circumstance, right? Or their own circumstance, which is really cool. And that's, I mean, we're with backers. Yeah, we're definitely about building a network of entrepreneurs. I mean, that's kind of, it's in our name. I mean, we're actually Backers Network Inc. is our corporation name. So it's literally in our name. But okay, so tactically getting to know people a lot sort of sooner than, or earlier on than just jumping into something. Let's say though, I'll use the flip side. Let's say you get into a project, or would you get into a project that you don't necessarily have a huge sort of, I think I froze there, but you don't have a huge following, but that you can then start to kind of build it if it's around, say, a new interest of yours?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would.
Is that possible?
Yeah, I think it's totally possible. I think it's just about finding, for example, for the Orca documentary,
right?
I didn't have connections in that community,
right?
And
sort of a new venture for you, or like a new understanding.
Yeah. Okay. But my co-creators did have some connections,
right?
But it wasn't like we had that much connections. So I think when you're going into a new area, it's just about starting as early as you can, starting reaching out to people and talking, and focusing again on like those genuine connections. Like, what is it that I guess the key things to think about are, what is it that you are offering to this community that you're engaging with? And then what are you hoping to get in return? So, if you're hoping to get in return that eventually they're going to be interested in supporting your project, you should be offering support to other people's projects. You should be offering interesting ideas and interesting, offering what skills you have that could help with the community. So for example, for the Orca documentary, that's pretty easy, because it's like, we are trying to do something that is going to help highlight the activism and highlight the organizations that are doing positive work on the ground and the people who are really fighting to save this species. We're trying to highlight that through a film. So it's pretty easy to get people to say, oh yeah, we're going to share your film around with our network and try to get them to support it. So in that case, it's like very easy. We all have the same end goal of trying to save this species, but also just generally trying to protect the environment, trying to do positive things for our planet and every animal living here. So in that way, it's just about finding like, what is the common interest? And I guess it sort of comes down, right now I'm taking a negotiation class at law school.
Okay.
And a lot of modern negotiation is really about focusing on what is your actual end interest,
the end game,
in this, and what is their end interest. So rather than it being like a focus on, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars for this thing, and then they're like, no, I'm going to give you X divided by $2. Like, instead of focusing on that, it's like, what do you actually want out of this? What do they want out of this?
And then trying to figure out in the middle.
Yeah. How can we find out a way where we're both going to be getting what we need? And, it's for the example of the film, it's not like we're not making a lot of money or anything off of the film. So there's not really much space for self-interest. It's kind of just pretty clear. This is genuine, that we all are here to try and make a positive impact. So let's figure out ways that we can mutually leverage each other's skills and leverage each other's networks, and so we can maximize that impact. Right.
And so there's, just for the record, there's no Trump negotiating tactics in your negotiating class, right?
No,
that's those have been outdated since forever, I would assume.
Yeah.
So anyways, no, that's really cool. So it's interesting. One of the things I would think, like volunteering here. So I would think maybe you guys were able to volunteer some time. You're obviously bringing awareness. Do you see sort of like secondary benefits coming from some of these organizations where maybe they've been able to generate maybe some more donations or more dollars in, or more volunteerism coming towards them? That's partly what you're bringing to them, right? All those kind of indirect kind of results for them, right?
Yeah, basically we're trying to amplify what their community is doing. And, we do that right now through social media, through emails, through also just making connections. Like, you know, if we see one organization that's doing something and we meet someone else who's doing something similar, we
Connect
try
them.
to bridge those gaps.
Right.
So, and also we organize, like we've been organizing protests and organizing on the ground activism. So that brings together these different communities. And also, I mean, these communities are already trying to come together, but it just helps to have more and more people organizing things that bring everyone together towards.
Yeah. And a movie like this can almost be like that centrally kind of connected, where maybe they're sort of disconnected on a day-to-day basis, right? Where they all can kind of come together. One of the questions, I guess this is probably my naive question of the interview, is if they're not all naive, they maybe all are naive. 88, you said, down to 73. Just out of my own curiosity, what is the solution? Is there a solution? Like, is there a number that they want to get back to? Are there, you know, are they sort of, maybe not to spoil the movie, but is there, you know, a result that is not extinction?
Yeah. So, I mean,
in a sort of direct way.
That's a good question. I would say that, first of all, what the population probably should be, if you were not having all of the different issues that have been happening, including back in the 60s and 70s, capturing a large number of these orcas and sending them to aquariums around the world.
Okay.
You'd probably have around 300 of these orcas.
So there's not a huge sort of capacity for them.
Yeah, you wouldn't have like thousands or anything around, but still, like, you know, 300 versus
triple, 4 times what they're at, right?
Yeah, that's a lot. And so the key sort of issue in the film is that humans just have lost touch, basically, with our connection to nature and to animals. And if we can reestablish that connection and learn from communities and people who have always maintained that connection, we can start to make decisions that will focus on coexisting with other species rather than driving other species to extinction. So,
which is the name of the movie, Coextinction. Yeah, exactly. You want to coexist instead of co-extinct. Yes.
And the key issues are, without getting into, you know, too much detail, because not everyone's necessarily wants to know everything about the key issues, but the key issues are, one, there is not enough salmon available for the orcas, so we need to make decisions that will improve the salmon population, which includes fishing less herring, which is what the salmon eat, which includes not farming salmon, because salmon farming on the West Coast contributes a lot of disease that spreads into wild salmon populations, which then leads to those salmon dying before an orca can eat them. And also includes restoring habitat for salmon and also reducing fishing of salmon on the West Coast. So those would be sort of the main key issues. There's also issues around some hydroelectricity dams in the US that are obsolete in terms of producing electricity, but that are preventing a lot of salmon from being able to spawn in river systems.
Right.
And you're getting millions of juvenile salmon dying every year because of these dams. So breaching those dams. And then also generally, well, first of all, when you have a pipeline, you then need to ship the oil from the West Coast to Asia and other places. That leads to a lot of tanker traffic. The tanker traffic is very noisy for orcas, which use echolocation underwater to hunt for their prey. So trying to reduce tanker traffic, which means reducing oil consumption, which also then contributes to reducing climate change, which climate change also kills salmon, because as water temperatures rise, it changes the oxygen levels in the water and leads to more salmon death. So there's a lot of interwoven issues.
I was gonna say it's almost like a very like a microcosm of what's happening across probably many species, across many parts of the world, you know, where, you know, not to get into it, but, you know, just human sort of interference would be a polite, nice way of saying it, or human kind of presence in general is, you know, and the excessive human presence maybe is is damaging to nature, our
Yeah,
natural
exactly.
resources and the natural habitats of, you know, the rest of the world, which I like. I love the title, and it kind of just clicked when you said you want to coexist, and then the movie's about co-extinction. I think that's a huge kind of, you know, if people can get that you want to coexist, not co-extinct, because
Yeah.
it is truly, you know, if we bring the rest of the planet, and I'll throw my 2 cents out, the rest of the planet, if it dies, we're probably right there with it. We're going to
Yeah,
co-extinct together,
definitely.
right? Is that kind of the idea? Is that
Yeah, I
like
mean, that's
we're
like
basically
the
bringing ourselves to a, you know, extinction, right?
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, the decisions that we're making are pushing us into positions that we're not going to be able to live. And
Right.
I mean, a lot of the film is about indigenous communities that have for a long time, they managed their resources in a very sustainable and
Right.
a way that could actually continue to function, and the connection that they have with the animals and the environment that they're in is a much more spiritual and deeper connection than a lot of the settling and colonizing Western communities that came to these places has.
Right.
So a lot of the film is also about giving over power to indigenous communities who, you know, still legally should have power over these territories,
Right.
but has been stolen from them by the Canadian government. So trying to give back power and trying to let those communities make decisions that are looking out for the long-term interest of their community, but also the world, rather than just the pocketbooks of people. But of course, there are people who are, you know, there are white people who are fishing who care deeply about the animals as well. So it's just about figuring out that balance and figuring out ways to use the value that everyone brings from their knowledge, their experience, their connection, trying to create ways that we can transition where all of that value continues on, but you reduce as much harm as possible and shift people into different jobs and
into a far more sustainable, right? I think
exactly.
Sustainable coexistence rather than co-extinction, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So Andrew, I really appreciate you joining me here. Everyone else, go check out. So I want you, the second that movie's ready to launch, I want you to let me know. We can let everyone know. Maybe we can have you on for a little, I don't know, we want to watch like a little preview or something. I'd love to have you come on and we could do some sort of little, you know, sneak peek and tell people to go watch it. Are you down for something like that?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
January? Yeah? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
People should, my last plug before we sign off is that people should go check out my current project, which is a card game.
Yeah. Where can they find that? On Kickstarter?
Yeah, it's on Kickstarter and it's called Futures. It's a storytelling card game where you're basically given cards that help you to tell stories of different future worlds. So we're very forced into a view of the future, and the singular future is going to be focused around capitalism and continued growth and advancement of technology, and we're going to solve our problems through technological advancement. It's a very exclusive future where it's very focused around sort of powerful white men have been wanting for a long time. So this game is trying to help people to open their minds to different ideas and tell their own stories that explore different things.
Right.
And also 100% of the profits from the game are going to social and environmental justice organizations. So like Black Lives Matter, Raven Trust, which is like a Indigenous law charity in Canada, different organizations like that.
Awesome. So check it out. Futures on Kickstarter. We'll have to get you doing a project for, I know capitalism, I know the whole notion of a corporation and for-profit maybe is slightly sort of counter to that, but there's social corporations, right?
Yeah, you could reformed capitalism.
We can have reformed and so I think that there's an opportunity. I think you should be looking at an opportunity, maybe even bring Futures onto backers, and we can kind of look to do a campaign there. But I'll end it on this. We've talked about backers. You're very familiar with it. So I know whenever the opportunity arises, we'll connect on something. Yeah. I'd love to have some of the people that work on our platform or that are launching campaigns, maybe be able to reach out to you. We can discuss sort of, things of that nature. We've talked there. I'll end it on one last question though. Again, thanks for joining me, but I ask everyone the same question. If there was one word or one piece of advice you would give to a younger Andrew Luba, you're young as it is, so I'm not going to say that much younger, but let's say go back to, the undergrad Andrew or pre-masters Andrew, or just starting out with Kickstarter Andrew. What would that one word or that one piece of advice be?
It would be, it's not one word, but it would be focus on projects you care about and that are doing things that you want to have happen in the world.
That was definitely not one word, but yes.
Yeah.
I think, summarize though, focus on stuff that you feel good about and that will make a positive impact.
Exactly.
Right? That's if we can all do that, and obviously, you're talking about your movie, and that sort of coexistence. I think if people do something that they feel good about and that they know that is having a positive impact, if we all did that, the world would be a much better place.
Definitely.
Right? So anyways, we'll end it on that. Andrew,
thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Good luck in the rest of law school. I know you said you're in your final year right now, so good luck with that. Hopefully everything goes well. Everyone else, Powered by Backers, great day, great guest. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Andrew, thank you very much again. Bye, everyone.
OMG, baby, tell him.